Right, so disabled dancers are more interesting, draw more focus from performing with non-disabled dancers. So the idea that if we're on stage for say a non-disabled performer, we get all the focus.
So what's your take on that?
Yes, if we're any good.
Yeah.
Oh, because at some point performance all about pulling focus. You know, and we all joke about it, and it's not about being the unseen one in the background, cause that's not the point. And so but the question is what you're pulling focus for. If you're pulling focus because you're crap, then, you know, but we won't be that as well, where you see like the same performer and go back.
Get them off. Does that depend on the skill of the director or choreographer? That whole thing about, you know, people standing out or being extra obvious?
I think so. I remember me watching videos of disabled dancers. I get real sense. It's all about the crowd dynamics and real sense of, when you can get those crowd dynamics right, then great. But interesting, the ones where I think they were best had disabled choreographers working on them.
When Claire and I did our residency together, we really started to, at one point in the week, we both kind of went, you know when you're on stage, does everyone just look at you? And it was like, yeah. And both of us had been in duets where the other person in the duet had felt like they weren't getting any attention, so they could have not been there, really. So we then started to have this conversation about, okay, if we were on stage together, what would then happen? What are they going to do then? What happens if there's more than one disabled dancer or more than one disabled performer? Who do they look at then, and what then would draw the interest? What then would make it interesting? And I think that in my experience, part of it is that in performance, all of a sudden you give, an audience has permission to watch, to stare and to look. And that, I think, is a fascinating thing in itself, because sometimes it's just practical things like me getting in and out of my chair, or just being able to actually watch the way somebody moves. That might be something that intrigues people or fascinates people. I don't know why, but it does. And I think that that's part of it, is all of a sudden people have got permission to stare at you, to look.
Through independence, obviously, there's certain people within the organisation and within the company that like to take the limelight, and sometimes it's trying to have that balance. And do we look at the person because they've got a disability that's acceptable? Because would that be acceptable if they didn't have a disability? So we've challenged a lot of things within our organisation, because we look at the dancers on a weekly basis and they might do something that is totally out of turn, or because obviously the majority of the work that we do is people with learning disabilities, so every day is so different. And there's been a few instances where we've had somebody just totally look at something in a different way or do a different movement when it's not actually the choreographed piece. That sometimes can bring on a new movement, but also would we accept that if it was myself dancing that doesn't have a disability? So there's fine lines that we we're trying to look at within the organisation, and like, just because I've got a disability, no, you can't do that. Like, we would just treat you the same as, because obviously those without a disability were like, no, this is what you've got to do. But if it is okay for them, because a lot of the time the majority of the work that we have done is with non-disabled choreographers, and they'll just go, oh, that's fine, just let them come in and out when they want it. I'm like, no, but we've actually worked on them for so long, and either they're in or they're out, because if not, then they're just going to do whatever they want. And it does happen quite a lot of times, so we need to challenge the choreographers that are coming in because we're working on either they're in or they're out. Because if you do that, then it's going to just be we're left with it at the end of the day. After they do the piece, then they could be in or out. We don't know. The unexpected is going to happen. So we're trying to really look at challenging choreographers, look at challenging our organisation, non-disabled and disabled, and try and find ways of working together. And obviously a lot of our work has been as a collaborative of the full company, and we're trying to bring things smaller as well so that we can really home in on those that have unique movements, unique things that they want to challenge through their dance, because they all have different ways of working, and sometimes it can be a whole mishmash of, okay, well that person moves this way but that person moves that way. How can we bring it together to make it a unique movement together?